maybe, if you don't mind, Hashim and Subboor, Sweetheart Loved is not a Muslim and has some questions. We'll give the opportunity, and hopefully, probably this is the last caller. Sweetheart Loved, introduce yourself. What do you believe, and why do you consider that everyone should believe in your belief system, that it's true?
Hi, my name is Marilyn, and I don't have a belief system, but I am wondering why individuals of your faith believe in this form of, what is it called, damnation or hell or punishment in the afterlife. I don't believe that there is a punishment in the afterlife. I believe that we are here to evolve as human beings, and we are here to become like divine love source. You guys call him Allah, but this punishment, it doesn't make any sense to me in that regard. Why would he or the God you believe in put you on an earth to punish you eventually for making a mistake that will cause you to eventually evolve?
Okay, before we answer your concerns that you have raised, would you mind, just sharing with us, why should we believe in the concept that you have? What makes your concept to be true, that indeed is what mankind should follow?
Well, I'm not here to persuade anybody to believe in anything. I believe that when you die, you create your own reality. And if you punish yourself and you put yourself in a mental state of hell, then you would go there. But I believe that people have their free will to choose where they go in the afterlife, how they create their heaven. And I just don't understand this whole torment thing.
Sure.
That
the whole question of afterlife, or even the very existence of a creator, I mean, we need to have a sort of a foundational belief first in terms of our reality. Do you consider this reality, there is no creator behind it? I mean, what I'm trying to get at simply is your position one of agnosticism or atheism? Do you believe that this universe is all there is, or there's a creator who created or brought about this universe into existence?
I believe there is an energy that breathed life into us, and that we're here to evolve and become like that divine love source, become like God.
Okay, so would you like to just clarify some of the concerns raised?
Firstly, thank you, Sweetheart Loved, for joining us on the live stream. So I'd like to just make a few points, very quick points on this. The first point is that you said you don't have any beliefs. I just wanted to just say a few things about this. All human beings have beliefs. We all have to have beliefs, because human knowledge would not be possible unless you start off on what philosophers call basic beliefs. So you do believe the world is real, you do believe truth is valuable, you do believe good is something that we should do, bad is something we should avoid, you do believe in justice, you do have some moral beliefs, like you, for example, said, I don't like the idea of punishment. So you clearly have beliefs. We all have beliefs. So this idea that we don't have beliefs is not true. The second point is, I just want to ask you a question and then continue this point. Do you disagree with the idea of punishment? Like, I'm talking about even the idea that, for example, if I take this book and I throw it at you, or I throw it at a child, that human action deserves some form of justice, that punishment is just part and parcel of justice?
I believe there is a reason to have some type of rules, boundaries, but I'm talking about like the punishment where Christians believe in this hellfire, you're eternally there, and you can't evolve and come out. This hell, this torment, I don't believe in that.
So you disagree, from my understanding, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you disagree with the severity of the punishment, not the idea of punishment, the general idea, which is part of justice, that, say, Adolf Hitler, he had to face some form of punishment for what he did. We weren't going to let him off for what he did. So am I correct in understanding that your problem is with the severity of hell, not with the general concept of punishment?
Yes, so.
Okay, good. So second point I just want to make is that if you have a belief in justice or morals, that belief itself has to come from somewhere, right? And what we've argued previously as well, and we can go into it if you want, is you cannot have a concept of justice or right or wrong or good and bad without God. So those things don't exist. So the second point I'd just like you to let me know your thoughts on. Do you agree with proportion? Meaning, if I steal £5 from Mansoor, and after a few years, £5 will be deducted from me. So, do you agree with things have to be proportional in terms of justice, in terms of punishment, in terms of reward? So, if I do 5 minutes of work, I deserve 5 minutes of money. So, do you agree with proportion?
Yes, I agree with proportion. I also agree with trying to understand why the individual may have stolen. For instance, like if somebody was poor, they needed to feed their family, and they steal something. Am I going to automatically punish them for trying to survive, acting out of desperation? Or am I going to be somebody who would give the individual some other options besides trying to steal? Would I offer that person a job?
Yeah.
And in his mind or her mind, they stole because of a good reason. They needed to survive.
Yeah.
But the way I perceive it, if somebody stole from me, I could perceive it as, oh, they're trying to attack me, or I could perceive it as they needed it.
Yeah. And
So I believe in proportion.
yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's what Islam takes into account in terms of proportion. So if somebody steals, say, for out of hunger, not out of greed, they're treated completely differently, and they may not be actually punished at all, depending on if they just did it because of need rather than greed. So that's part of proportion. So you agreed with the idea that punishment, as a general concept, you don't have a problem with that. You have the problem with the severity. Okay. Two, you agree with proportion. Three, if you agree with these 2 points, then the third point is that if proportion you believe in and if punishment you believe in, then if a finite being, a human, hurts another finite being, a human, then you have proportions, right? However, if a finite being, it does a crime against an infinite being, against a being that in terms of magnitude is incomparable, then the punishment is just as severe. So, following on from the first point and the second point, hell is not a logical problem, it's an emotional problem. And I've dealt with this many times, so has Mansoor, so has Hashim. Oftentimes, when we break it down logically, if God is all powerful and all knowing and God is supreme, and the greatness of God and the glory of God is exactly what the theists say it is, then a microsecond of disbelief in God could result in an infinite time in hellfire. That's not a logical problem. Now, of course, God can forgive, and we have many different things in Islam that God can forgive, but also the idea that God is all knowing. So God knows if a person had 1,000,000 years, or if they had different circumstances, they would still do the same thing. So I just want to highlight something, which is the problem of hellfire is not a logical problem, it's an emotional problem. And the simple answer to that is that whether we like something emotionally or not does not mean it's not true. So our beliefs, our emotions, no matter how strong, they don't change the structure of the universe. I hate the idea of Muslims being in concentration camps in China, but my emotions and my anger and my rage does not change those realities. So I just want you to appreciate that it's not a logical problem, it's an emotional problem.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. But also, in regards to, I forgot what I was going to say. Some people, for instance, like in India, in that area, they believe if you kill a cow or their god, they perceive it as extremely evil. But in other people's eyes, they consider it as, you know, nothing. It's just a cow. So it's like the perception of good and evil. Where do you guys get your perception of what's evil and what's good?
Very good question. So we believe there's 2 sources from which we recognize good and evil. The first is an innate compass that's in all human beings, which can get colored by society. Philosophers call this core morality. Core morality is the reason why we can even talk to each other, even if we disagree about morals. So if I disagree with the idea that a cow is so sacred that you can't even take out its milk, which some vegans may subscribe to for human consumption, and I believe that, you know, it's perfectly fine to have a milkshake. We both agree on some certain things. We agree on justice, we agree on proportions, we agree on right and wrong. It's just our philosophies and our ideas which change things. So philosophers, moral philosophers, they make a distinction between core morality, which all human beings subscribe to, and general moral norms and ethics and imperatives which people subscribe to because of their beliefs or because of their customs or traditions. So core morality, like, we all believe in the idea that you have the right to what you own. We all have the basic ideas that lying without a good reason is bad. Murder is bad without, if there's no justification for taking someone's life. So we believe in that internal, what philosophers call core morality. And secondly, we also have a belief that through revelation, we are told of certain things, right? Now, we're told of certain things by God. However, God also tells us something, which he says to us, sometimes our own compassion gets in the way of justice. So, for example, I may find out that my daughter is stealing, and I don't want to apply a punishment of stealing on her because she's my daughter. So now I have a conflict. So God teaches us that ultimately we should subscribe to the truth regardless of how we feel about it. Yeah. And I would really recommend for you to get a copy of the Quran, and we can send one PDF to you, or if you live in a place where we do have a distribution center, we could send you a physical copy, because I'm not sure what your name is, but
Marilyn.
I would like to just say that these conversations that we're having, these are really deep and philosophical, and it's going to take a long time for us to unravel these things, and it won't happen in just one show.
Okay. Well, I'll email you then my other questions.
Great. Okay.
And you can see the email in the private chat, or here it is, scdawa@gmail.com, and we would love to get your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. That was an interesting discussion. Thank you. It was a pleasure to listen to you both. I'm sure the listeners and our viewers have benefited a lot from this discussion, because this is a question that occurs in a lot of people's minds. Why is God punishing someone with an eternal torment in hellfire, especially when they haven't done an eternal amount of sins, being finite, but they're being punished with infinite duration for this matter. So that was really very good and interesting. Jazakallahu khairan. And we should really thank Marilyn for bringing questions like this, so that we can actually share the platform. And SC Dawa should be thanked too, to provide that platform where we can get together, exchange our ideas, and learn from each other, so that ultimately we will come closer and closer to the reality of knowing our Creator, of coming to connect to their Creator, and to fulfill the purpose that we are created for.